Okay, before we go any further, Dr. Tachi,
Yes.
you know what I'm going to ask you to do. You know that.
I suppose. So, I am the founder of Indie Soup Media, which is an independent network for independent content creators. We're on a little bit of a hiatus right now, but we will be back soon. We have about 30 shows amongst 25 creators. And Dr. Vibe always likes me to say this. We're somewhere in the neighborhood of 28,000 subscribers on YouTube.
All right. And without also, now it's Emma's turn.
Oh, well, okay.
Oh, well, you think I got to give equal representation. Come on now.
Do you have about, I don't know, 5 weeks? No. So, hello, everyone. Emma Ansa, media journalist for African Diaspora News Channel, the Daily Scrum News, your news. And then I have my channel, Emma Ansa News with Purpose. And I have my website, Ansa Media Group, and I am here to talk about everything concerning our community. It's about our community, and that's what I live for. That's what I will die for. That's what I'm passionate about, and I am so stoked for this conversation.
All right. So I'm going to have the opening conversation because I don't know what Juice Man's gonna say. He says he's gonna listen, but I don't. We'll get him out of the bullpen. So I want to ask both of you, what first drew each of you to journalism and media, and when did you realize your work would center Black communities?
So I'll start. I'm an accountant by trade, so it wasn't even on my radar to be a journalist. It's just once I started vlogging, because I made a point of starting vlogging, because living out where I live, I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me. And then all of a sudden, over like maybe I would say the past 5 years, I started to see more and more Black businesses coming here, Black businesses opening up. And I was like, well, wait now, hold up, wait a minute. I don't remember seeing this. I'm very excited about it. So I started vlogging, and I would go around to different Black-owned businesses, and I would just pull up and be like, hey, do you mind if I, showcase you? I'm just so excited that you're here. And somebody saw it. And then somebody recommended me for African Diaspora News Channel. So I went through the process, and the rest is history. 5 years later, and here I am. But again, that wasn't even on my radar. But to answer your second question, it is something that I'm very passionate about because it's something I went through my entire life living in Canada. So being able to have a platform to expose it was almost therapeutic for me. And the opportunity to be the voice for the voiceless, which was me as a little girl growing up, it just is everything.
Dr. Tachi?
Okay, I was waiting for you to say my name now. I don't speak until
okay.
And look at Juice Man waiting back there in the cut. You see, he's like this.
Yeah, I know the body language. The body language, yes.
I love it. So good morning, everyone. Again, so this is the interesting thing. There's so many great journalists who did not necessarily start off in journalism. For example, Emma being one. And I had always been mass media. That has always been my thing, and communication, human communication in general. And of course, had studied journalism. But my thing when I was in school was film and television. That's film, television, and radio. So that's what I wanted to do, not necessarily reporting or journal. I was like, yeah, that's fine, but that's not what I wanted to do. It wasn't until, obviously I'm an academician as well. I'm a professor. So we do a lot of research and a lot of writing. And if that's one thing I can do, I know I can write my way out of anything. And so I was asked by someone because they knew that I wrote things all the time. And they're like, do you write? I said, I do, but it's more on the academic side. But they're like, well, you could probably do some writing, newspaper type writing. And there was a now defunct journal here in South Florida called ICABA, which was invigorating and connecting, something like that. It was for the Black accomplished in South Florida. So I was asked to write for that. So I wrote several articles for that for a few years. And then I met Joy Reid when we were at a what is it, like the like, not a community board, but the development boards for different cities. So we happened to be in downtown Miami, and they were talking about things that at the time I was working on a documentary on food justice in the inner city. And it was like a press conference. The news was there, and Joy happened to be there. Well, my not podcast partner, but my documentary partner, myself, and her were in the parking lot talking for a straight hour. And I was like, this woman is brilliant. Now, I kind of knew who she was, but not really, really. So then we asked her to be in the documentary, and she said, yeah, I'll come by your office. And then while we were there, after we shot, she said, do you write? I said, I do. Okay, great, because we need more writers for The Grio. And that's how I started writing for The Grio. And that's how she was my editor when I was writing for The Grio. And so from there, I just started doing more and more journalistic things. A good friend of mine has a publication called The Burton Wire. And so she asked me to write something when there was a really famous academic professor who had passed away. She asked me to write something on that. Stuart Hall was one of the foremost researchers in the field of communication, but he also happened to be Black and Jamaican and British. So I wrote that on there. She said, yeah, we need more people. So I just kind of fell into it. Long story long, it wasn't my intention, but I fell into it because of the people I met along the way.
Okay. All right. Well, before we go any further, Ray McMillan's in the house saying, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Looking forward to this conversation after Juice Man's preamble. and Ray asked Emma, where are you, Emma? Northwest Territories? No, she's not. Emma, where are you located?
In the Niagara region.
Okay. All right. Juice Man, anything to say yet?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right, I will continue on then. So, Emma, you talked about turning racism into reporting with purpose. And Dr. Tachi, how did your journey into media lead you into championing independent Black media? So, Emma first, how did you come up with the patch of turning racism and reporting it with a purpose?
Well, again, when I was hired on African Diaspora News Channel, that was what I was hired for, just to bring the news in from what's happening concerning our people in Canada, because they're primarily the United States. And then from that, I launched my channel. And when I say with purpose, what I mean by that is I'm not just going to present drama and trauma and then move on. I want to also be able to have teachable moments, action items, accountability, so with that, I love to add the element of teaching. So that's the purpose part, because we can continue to expose anti-Black racism until the cows come home. But now we need to take it a step further, because at the end of the day, we don't see it really changing. It continues to happen more than we know. So what I like to do, the purpose part is, okay, so we know this has happened. Now what? How do we help to make those families, those impacted, those people whole? And so it's about accountability on top of it. It's about providing more information, doing your checks and balances and saying, this happened here to this person at this location, by this company, by this, or you know what I mean? And then calling out the action items and providing resources, that kind of stuff. So that's the purpose end of it.
Okay. Dr. Tachi?
Okay, I need you to repeat the question.
Yes, I will. I will repeat. How did your own journey into media lead you to champion independent Black media voices?
So we've talked about this offline a number of times, that the next iteration, we all started off as live streamings, right? That's how I met Dr. Vibe on the app called Blab. And we were essentially live streaming several times a week. Dr. Vibe was definitely several times a week. I was like once a week, but we all kind of connected. And in my opinion, it was, and in my estimation, it made sense to take the next logical step of organizing us together, which is how Indie Soup Media came about. But as a live streamer, I'd always been about independent media because of the fact that traditional media, particularly Hollywood, is very small. This is why you see the same 10 people that produce everything, that act in everything, that own everything. It's very insular and it's very small. And there's very little room for you as an independent creator because they don't like risk. Media in general, but particularly Hollywood, is very risk averse. So that's why you see the same stories all the time, because they go with the formula that they know has worked before because they don't want to lose money, right? And so in that not wanting to lose money, they're not willing to take a chance on you, which is why I just sit there like this when I keep seeing people begging them for a chance. Why? They're not going to go with you, boo-boo. They don't know you and they don't care to know you, right? It's only now that we start to see them working backwards to, oh, this person is popular on TikTok. Let's see if we could, but that is just within the past few years, and only like 3. And there's still people that are in the traditional media that aren't quite sold on this independent media thing. And it's for that reason, trying to give a voice to people who traditionally had no voice, and it cuts across, race, it cuts across ethnicity. There are so many people who you wouldn't have a chance to say anything anyway because you're not one of the chosen ones. So make yourself the chosen one. That's why I'm so into it.
I like that. I like that. Make yourself the chosen one. I like that. I like that. Juice Man.
I was gonna wait, but okay, I'll start this one.
Okay, good. Because we're all waiting for you, man.
Okay. As Black women in media, who, whether you work in traditional media or do the blogging and all that other sort of stuff, how hard was it for you to find a good person to do makeup, hair, video, and all the other things that happen within the media aspects?
I will answer that. Well, as you can see, I have locks. But prior to that, I was one of those women that were wearing wigs and weaves and all that good stuff so that I could fit in, and that it would make it easier for people to handle my hair. But now I have a loctician. So nobody touches my hair in any space other than her. That's the first thing. As far as makeup goes, it's always an issue because they can't find the right, blend. Sometimes they have to blend 2 or 3 different colors to get the right shade. Sometimes you look very ashy. Sometimes you don't. Me personally, I'm not a big makeup person. So when I'm going in, I'm bringing a sister who knows how to do my face. I'm very intentional about that. And for me, it's very natural. Like, just do whatever you need to do for lighting, and that's it. Like, I'm very bohemian when it comes to that. So, but to answer your question, Jonathan, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. I know a lot of sisters who are like, they just can't get me right. And then when on camera, I just look nuts, to say it the most kindest way possible. It's not that easy. It's not. And there's a lack of representation. Also, there are some people who say that they have been recruited as Black people to teach non-melanated people how to do it instead of hiring that Black person to do it. So that's the other difficulty that happens within these industries sometimes, which boils my blood. Let me just put it that way.
Dr. Tachi?
Yeah, this is an excellent question because it's so multi-layered. To piggyback, or sorry, in tandem with what Emma said, it is very difficult sometimes to find people who can do things just right. I have to say, I have been fortunate on a few ends because number one, I do my own makeup because I have a theater background in theater and that type of thing. So I learned very early because of dance and theater how to do makeup and how to do it for audiences that are close and how to do it for audiences so they can see you in the back of the room and you don't just look like an emoji. So I learned that very early. So that was one of the things. And the same thing with hair. Like I do my own hair. I get it done. I have braids. So my hair basically is set and done for whatever I have. But also I'm not in mainstream media. I'm independent. So you notice I like to wear hats a lot because I feel like wearing hats. That's a thing, a signature thing for me. And whereas that may not be something that would be permissible or allowable if I was doing mainstream media. So that's the other beauty of independent, that you can set what your look is like, whether it's makeup, no makeup look, or a full face, you know. So, but to the industry itself, it is very difficult. When I got my headshots taken, the first thing I said, look now. And I said, look now, I'm Black. Do you have people that can do makeup Black? And he assured me, he said, listen, he was not melanated. He said, the makeup artist I've been working with has done everybody here. And sure enough, excellent. She was not melanated, but excellent. So the thing is, I want for us to be hired in more like as makeup artists, as hair stylists on sets, definitely. Because we not only know how to do our own, because you learn in a cosmetology school on them because they're the default. But at the same time, I also want to be able for someone to go to a set and it's not like, we'll just plop this 1B ponytail on your 4C hair. We want that as well. So it's a system-wide problem and it needs to be fixed.
Hello, Juice Man.
And again, the reason I asked this question is because, again, I am the male in a room with a whole bunch of Black females on many different levels. And I've seen some of the struggles that Black women go through. You both talked about the braids, so let me touch on that. There's a lot of sisters who, whether it be, they came from non-traditional media and now they're in traditional media, and I've had those very difficult conversations with as simple as how to wear your hair. Like, you saw me like this. You saw me with my braids. You saw me with my afro. You saw me with whatever, and you liked what I did. Why now is the journalism that I'm doing now affected by the factor is that my hair is in locks? My hair, I happen to wear a wig that day. I'm wearing a hat. I may have on a hijab. Why is that now a thing? You know what I mean? And it's one of the things I wanted to touch on, or wanted you to touch on. So
it truly is one of those things where for some reason with Black women, our the way we do our hair can be a deterrent, and it's unacceptable because at the end of the day, I always say, and to your point, Dr. Tachi, that's why for me personally, I'm all about independent media, but that's why I always say, we as Black women, we need to ensure that we have the right representation in the room, because if we don't have that, there's always going to be people who are going to look at our hair and be like, can you, like some women who have, let's say, really beautiful afros, they'll be told things like, can you tone down your hair? What does that mean, tone it down? At what point are you just paying attention to what I'm saying and my work ethic and my productivity and not what's on my head, right? And so they like to say, we're DEI, we're all about DEI. That's a load of you know what, and I'm going to keep my mouth clean. But it is such a crock, and that is why, like Dr. Tachi said, independent media, and I call it new black media, is where it's at. And guess what? People are starting to watch, not starting, they are watching and paying attention to new black media and what we are saying.
Just to do a reset. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Tachi. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to mention something that whole thing, it's difficult, and it's been a difficult road to kind of switch over, but we do have the Crown Act, which prevents discrimination based on natural hair. And Crown actually stands for Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair. And so, to your point, Juice Man, of the why is you knew me like this, why is it a problem now? Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. The reality is that people do. And so this is why people can only do to you what you accept. And so if we keep accepting jobs and things and places that do not want us to be our whole selves, right? Come, but only if you have a wig on. Come, but only if it's braided down neat and your edges are slicked. That if you keep accepting that, they will keep serving that up. So it's up to us to change that.
And
All right.
even with the Crown Act, just to touch on that, even with the Crown Act, because we don't have that here, but even with the Crown Act, I still see a lot of Black people that still go through this.
Yeah.
In schools, in workplaces, they're still going through it with the Crown Act. So that's to tell you how it flies in the face of Black people anyway. There's still that lack of respect and regard.
And it's us. It's not always all them. Sometimes it's us putting these constraints on ourselves because we've been taught, oh, well, this hairstyle isn't professional, or it will be somebody else that comes and says, another Black person that says, well, you might want to do. I remember very well, and this wasn't television, but when I went for my interview down here, which is why I'm here. One of a colleague, a friend, was like, well, maybe you could slick your hair back. I'm not slicking my hair back. It will be out. So when you play into that, and they
Exactly.
were fine. They were fine. They're like, well, we like your hair. I know.
Yeah. No, we can't accept that. We just can't. But I understand that some people will, because guess what? They got to put food on the table. They need that paycheck. They got a mortgage. They got children. They have all of those things. It's about really deciding, as an individual, how much of it are you going to accept, and how much compromise are you willing to make? Because in the end, it does affect us. It does affect us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just doing a refresh here, myself and Juice Man are hanging out with Dr. Tachi and Emma Ents about what is it really like to be a Black woman journalist on The Morning Vibe. And Ray has a question for both of you to expand on Dr. Tachi's statement about being independent. If either of you ladies got a lucrative offer to join a major mainstream outlet, would you accept it? And what impact do you think you would have?
See, that's the beautiful thing about contracts. You get to read it, and not only are they interviewing you, you are also interviewing them. So when I'm looking at a contract, I also want to have input in what's in that contract. So I would make damn sure that these certain things, my hair, all of the things that are important to me, my look, my work ethic, what I want to bring to the table needs to be in that contract. Otherwise, what I'm not going to do is sign it based on the money. And then when I get in there, it's like, well, Emma, you're beholden to us. Well, Emma, you can't say this. You can't do that. You can't. It's very difficult to leave your independence for money. And then you have to make all of these compromises. And all of a sudden you're stripped of who you are, and you become who they want you to be. And I can't accept that. So the short answer is I need to have very much say in what I'm bringing to the table, and you have to accept it. Because at the end of the day, if you're offering me this, you obviously see something in me that you want. So I should have an opportunity to tell you what I want as well.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. 1000% agree. There are too many people, too many of us that are willing to, because they threw in a 12-piece of wings with blue cheese and celery from Wingstop, that you're willing to do whatever. And
And
that
that sounds so delicious.
it does, right? It does. But we're too willing to do that for the small, because it's not, as Emma said, it is not just about the money. It has to go beyond that. If we take a look at the case of, for example, Nick Cannon, remember when he had all that trouble because he did not have the rights to Wild 'N Out? So it's a show that he created that they wanted, that MTV, was it MTV wanted at one
Yes,
point?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so.
That MTV wanted. He just saw the money and went. But did you secure all these other things? Was it in your contract that if we part ways, this is mine? So that's the beauty of the contract. Nothing in this country or in North America, let's say, works without the beauty of a contract. So if somebody, I would, if the contract was right and it allowed me to do things. Because here's another thing that happens now. If we're looking at now the morning show with Charlemagne and them, because I don't remember the rest of the name, Charlemagne and them is on Netflix, but it's exclusively on Netflix.
Yeah.
That to me was a dumb move, because you built your audience on YouTube and outside of Netflix. So would my contract allow me to still do the things I'm doing independently, or would it be an all or nothing situation? If that's the case, I'll take nothing.
You're no further behind. Stay with what you're doing, right? Stay with what you're doing.
Because I didn't have you to begin with. So
Right.
I will always have them. And I think this is the thing that creators in this day and age need to remember, that your audiences were the ones who brought you to the point that you are now. And so, not to say you're beholden to your audience, but you do kind of owe them something, because they've stuck with you all this time. So now, because big corp A, B, and C media group wants you, you throw everything away and throw everyone away, because one day you're going to need to come back. And will they still be there? We'll see.
I 100% agree with you about the Breakfast Club as well. As you said, and it's Lauren LaRosa and Jess Hilarious are the other two.
Thank you, Jess. Yes.
DJ Envy. Yes. So, everybody, well, I want to say everybody, but millions of people woke up every day and were looking forward to watching the Breakfast Club. Like, that was the thing. Whether they were driving to work or whatever, you had the opportunity to call in. So there was audience engagement. All of that is gone now because they signed this deal with Netflix. And I don't know about you all, but me personally, I don't subscribe to Netflix on a regular basis, because what I find is it's a lot of repetitive old stuff that they keep recycling. And every so often they'll throw in a few new things and say, oh, this is here now. And then they bait you in, right? And then you're on this auto billing again. And then more of old stuff comes. So for me personally, as much as I enjoy the Breakfast Club, I'm not going to get a Netflix subscription for them. And there are a lot of their viewers that feel the same way. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you, Dr. Tachi. I'm sure they got a multi-million deal.
Oh,
but
that was a rich deal. That was a rich deal for them.
But what about all the people that have been here for you, like you said?
Juice Man, I can go on.
I got another question. Okay, you're both independents. Is there a sisterhood within the independents as far as the ladies that do what you do? Because what I see is you have your platform, but I'm not seeing a sisterhood within the ladies doing what they do. I don't see a group of ladies doing the same thing within an independent framework altogether. I see one woman and that's it. I see another woman and that's it. And I'm not saying that there's not room for another one, but I'm not seeing 2, 3, 4 women as part of something. I'm seeing one independent woman, another independent woman. So I'm asking the question, is there a sisterhood in the independent world when it comes to Black female journalists?
May I? Emma, do you mind if?
Yeah, you go first, and then I will respond.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, respondent. So, that statement could be made about independent media in general. That statement could be made. It's not just a woman thing necessarily. There are all sorts of just independent people that are islands floating by themselves, and I think that's kind of the nature of how independent media has become, or what it has become. And I'm going to use YouTube as the example because it's YouTube. It is speaking to you. And so everybody feels I can have a channel, right? So independent media in this day and age, and if we're looking at it from a YouTube lens, it dictates that, oh, you can do this. So you don't think about banding together with others, but that's why Indie Soup Media exists. And there's an awful lot of women that are on Indie Soup Media, people in general, right? But there's an awful lot of women. And that was part of the thing, that we're all doing this. Why operate in silos by ourselves? And there are others that are doing that as well. I can't remember the name of it now. Dr. Vibe, you probably remember, but there are other independent networks that are doing the same thing, that are Black women owned. And the one that
was the one that's a young lady.
Yes.
She started many years ago, and I can't.
Very many years ago, and because I met her at a conference.
I can't remember. I'll find it. Go ahead.
Right. So there are a lot of people that are doing that, where there are these communities, definitely. But I think also that sometimes people don't know about the other people in the spaces. You have a lot of people, we're assuming that everybody that is becoming like an independent producer comes from this world. And sometimes that's not the case. In this day and age, opportunities have presented themselves for you to say what you want to say using a camera, using a microphone, and you can do that. But that doesn't mean you necessarily know the lay of the land where you can connect with other people. And then you're right, some people just don't want to connect with other people because it's also hassle-some. That's not a word, but I'm making it one. It's also hassle-some sometimes to deal with a group of people in general. So I'll pass it on now to you, dear Emma.
Well, I will say I agree with everything you said, all of those scenarios. I will say this about myself anyway, and Dr. Tachi has been on. I'm always trying to recruit people to join me on conversations that I'm having. Not only that, but it also depends on what you're doing. You see, like me, for example, the kind of content I do, I'm a fly in the face of people concerning our people, right? And so there are some women who don't want to be a part of that. They really don't want to. They don't feel comfortable in that space, right? They're happy just being a content creator, talking about makeup and hair. No shade to them, but I'm just saying not everybody wants to do this kind of work. That's the first thing. And then secondly, as I said, I've only really seen in Canada, when it comes to Black women, I only know of 2 women that do what I do. That is Salam Debs, who's an anti-racism coach, and she is fierce, and she is under attack on a regular basis, but it doesn't stop her. And I've had her on. She's always willing to come on African Diaspora News, on my channel. She is always willing to come. There is another woman, her name is Tierra, and she is part Irish, part Black, and she is also fierce. She is under attack on a regular basis. I've reached out to her. I said, sis, come along with me. Let us do this thing. Sometimes you get left on red, even though you invite them to come. Sometimes they feel comfortable just doing what they're doing, right? So you can't force people. But I will say, I am about the sisterhood. I invite people all the time to come on. Let's have these conversations. What do you think about this? I reach out to people. I introduce myself. I say, you're more than welcome anytime. I put call outs. I do it online. I do it live. I'll be like, listen, if you want to reach out to me. So I'm all about the sisterhood. It's just not everybody is. And no shade to them. Not everybody wants to do this kind of work. Not everybody wants to do it together.
Good stuff. Let me just jump in. Ray says, as an independent consultant, the hasslesomeness is one reason I have avoided collaborations. So I quite understand Dr. Tachi's perspective.
I mean, you ask once, if they say no or they leave you on red, you move on. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, listen. And when people tell me no, you don't have to worry about me ever asking you again.
On red, that's good enough. I know you read it, and that to me is a no. So that's it.
The reason I asked the question is because I've seen some stories with my sheroes where they are the only one doing what they do. And as you know, when you're the only one doing what you do, every now and again, people throw darts at you, right? And every now and again, you get shot and you got to heal. And sometimes when you heal, you don't want to necessarily go back in that fight again. So I was looking at it from an aspect of, if there was a sisterhood, they can't just ping one of us off anymore like they've done throughout history all the time. As well as, I've raised girls, and little girls are always looking at what both of you women do, as well as some others, and saying, I want to be her. And sometimes they're watching a channel, and then all of a sudden that channel is just gone.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're trying to reach out and figure out, okay, well, who is the next person, or how can I be that person? And again, if there's only one of you, what are the steps to get other women to do more independent stuff? Like, again, in the traditional media, there is kind of a, you do this, you try to work your way here. In the independent media, you could be selling shoes yesterday, and then all of a sudden you're on a camera today, but you've done it. But how do you get there is more the way I'm asking. You know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Can I just interrupt? Can we parking lot that to near the end of our conversation?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but I definitely want to get from both these wonderful ladies their learned experience on pathways. But I do, if I have permission, I want to ask, with all the sometimes doing alone, this question for both of you: what does the invisible workload look like for Black women journalists, both on the job and off? I see both of them reacting, right? So, educating colleagues, translating culture, carrying on stories. There's probably a side that many of us don't see, especially from a Black woman journalist's perspective. So if either of you would like to chat about that with our family, I'd really appreciate that.
Go first, sis, and I'll.
Oh, okay. There's so many. I think it's all of that is irrespective of being a journalist or not. I think that's just, in society, the way society is set up, there are certain things that women have traditionally been expected to do, certain roles they've been expected to perform, regardless if you have a job or not, right? And so even if you don't subscribe to those things, it starts to seep in because that is the way society is set up. So you brought up one thing, Jonathan, with your line of questioning before, the whole makeup, hair, and that type of thing. Those are things that, now this is a misnomer, but men don't just get on camera without doing something because it would just, not match the energy of your female co-host, of your woman co-host. So they do something, but there's not as much that needs to be done that way. So that's something. It's not a huge something, but it definitely is something that you have to deal with in terms of, for some, not just getting on camera anyhow. There are things you may be dealing with, parents, aging parents, and you're dealing with that type of thing. And more often than not, the sisters in the family or the daughters in the family are the ones that take on the brunt of that type of thing. So you may be dealing with that. So in my opinion, I think it's just societal things in general because of the roles that have been traditionally expected of women that seeps into that. Now, if you're talking about for me, were you talking about for us personally or just in general?
Yeah, either or.
Okay, well, so in general, I have other jobs as is. I have their other things. I'm also a professor, right? I do that. I also have some other clients. So there are those other things that are tugging. But here's the thing for me, that it is all of what I'm doing is enjoyable and it is tied in to what I do. And in fact, the professor piece of that is educating the next generation of media makers. So if we're talking back to that, the sisterhood thing of it, for the women students that I have, they are able to see me doing what I do, but then teaching them how to do it. So that's another part of the sisterhood part of it. So I hope that answers your question, Dr. Vibe.
Sure. Emma?
Just before I answer, when you say the invisible, excuse me, are you referring specifically to just the work, or are you looking from a broader lens? Because if we're talking about,
I'm focusing on the workload, because especially there's a lot of workload and also things like microaggressions, those things you got to take on, and also your own life, all those things that a lot of times, all of us are independent content creators. There is a side that 99% of this audience don't ever see, but I'm talking specifically as Black women journalists. How do you handle that, sometimes that invisible workload that our audiences don't see?
Yeah, I mean, I always say that, what we do involves a lot of work, especially if you're delivering news. You want to make sure, obviously, that you're fact checking everything. You're not just putting stuff out there. Responsible journalism is important as well, especially if you are exposing people, organizations, companies, schools, etc. Right? So that involves a lot of work. There's a lot of research. A lot goes into either going live or a pre-record. If you're independent and you don't have a team, then you've got to learn how to make thumbnails. You got to learn how to, create fun and interesting captions and descriptions, and you got to learn how to upload things. There's a lot of work on the back end. If you have a team, even the team, you got editors, you may have graphic artists that do it for you. You still have to be able to run it, right? So it involves a lot of work initially before you come on camera. Then from a personal standpoint, you're dealing with threats, you're dealing with insults, you're dealing with verbal abuse, you're dealing with a lot of things on the back end after what you put out, and especially what we do. Right? You are exposing the ugly truth. And sometimes the ugly truth hurts people. So hurt people. So, you're faced with threats. You're faced with, I'm going to come there and I'm going to get you. You're faced with all kinds of insults. So that's part of the invisible impact, I would say, from the workload that you do. So from a work standpoint, these are some of the things in the back end that people don't know about. And so when you go live or you put up your pre-record, you've got people telling you what you should say, what you should do. You should have said this. You're a liar. You're this and that. Me personally, all it does is fuel me, because if I have that reaction, then I'm doing something good. I'm growing. But I sent you some statistics, Dr. Vibe. So it does affect women. It does affect us, and specifically Black women, because with that, we're also faced with our appearance. We're told things about the way that we look. it's the attacks are real. Okay, so as you can see, let me put my glasses on so I can get into this. So, like, as you can see, 70% of Canadian journalists report being attacked, right? And harassment, and that's just in the past year. And then you see 71% of Canadian female journalists say online harassment is the biggest safety threat. 1 in 10 have received death threats just for doing their job. And then you've got women, BIPOC, and the LGBT are facing higher rates and more severe abuse. And I know I've been on the receiving end of it since I started doing what I'm doing, right? And as I said, Sister Salam Debs is the other Black woman here in Canada that does it. And she's had to close down some businesses with the amount of death threats that she gets simply for speaking the truth about us as Black people. And then we've got Tierra, who recently started. I don't even think she's been doing it long, and she's receiving death threats. She's receiving threats from people. I could have brought some examples, but I don't want to feed that into the algorithms. I don't want to give those people any life. If I feel like it is threatening enough, I know what I need to do, and we have the right people in place to deal with it. So, but that's just to give you a snapshot of what it is on the back end, invisible. Some journalists tend to bring it out so people can see exactly what these people are saying. And I will lie if I said that I haven't done it a few times, and I do intend to do it this week because I'm starting to see a rise in it. When you see 70%, 71%, that's not anything to turn a blind eye to. So sometimes you do have to bring it out, which I intend to do this week. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, this is just to give you an idea.
Absolutely.
Anyone want to add on to that that infographic and the funny thing is it doesn't even get specific to Black female journalists that specific. This is just general. But anyone want to add on or have any thoughts before I take the image down?
Just to touch on that, that's because we lack race-based data.
Of course, in Canada,
country.
yes.
So that's why you only see a higher rate, but we don't see how high. Like, we don't have specific numbers. I just wanted to clarify that.
And I don't have the numbers for the US, but I can guess it would be similar or even higher if you think about it. And yes, we don't have those statistics by ethnicity and by race to show that. This is a real threat, definitely, whether you're independent or whether you are in mainstream media. This has been happening, definitely. I think part of the reason that I don't do what's quote unquote hard news, why I'm media, tech, and pop culture journalism, is because I don't want to deal with a lot of these things. Now, that doesn't mean that these things couldn't happen if you are reporting on something that's quote unquote lighter, but I also have not. I've actually had a pretty good time of it in the 11 years that I've been doing it. I haven't had like anything problematic happen. That doesn't mean it can't, but I haven't had it yet. And I think if I was dealing with hard news on a more regular basis, that could be a possibility. But for me, I enjoy what I do. I do what is natural to me and what I've been trained to do, which is why I talk about what I talk about. But the thing is, I also don't think that should scare off people from speaking the truth, because that's exactly what they want, for you to be silenced and not tell the truth, which is why I give so much credit to Emma and the platforms that she is on and her own platform for bringing out the truth.
And that's why I said no shade to any. Listen, whatever you're passionate about is what you're passionate about. And for the record, I enjoy Dr. Tachi's show. I enjoy watching other things. I have to find the balance for myself as well. So when you're in this space on a regular basis, you got to make sure you do other things. You can't sit in this negative space. So I do what I do. It gratifies me, but I also do other things so that I balance it out. As soon as I'm done with that report, I'm not going to consume it. I'm not going to foster it, right? I have to make sure I go and I do all the things I like to do, all my guilty pleasures, right? So you do have to find the balance, and part of that balance is I enjoy watching Dr. Vibe. I enjoy watching Dr. Tachi. I enjoy watching other podcasters doing other things. I'm not going to leave my podcast and then go sit and watch 10 or more hours of the same thing that I do.
Please don't.
Right.
Yeah.
So and I'm glad that there's a variety, right? And Dr. Tachi will still come on and talk with me about something concerning what I do. And I'm more than happy to come talk with Dr. Tachi on her show about what she does.
Oh, you're coming. Don't worry.
I'm running.
Could I say one more thing about this? So back
go
to
ahead,
the
please
point
do.
of the some of the hidden things. So again, I started off independent. So I've always been making media, and it's always been independent. Even if you're even counting from the time that I was in school and making student films and such, I've always been doing independent media since I've been an adult. But the interesting thing for me is watching people like on Indie Soup Media, some creators who have no clue exactly what it takes to produce this thing. And they're like, oh my God, because so many people have been used to the narrative that, oh, you get a deal and they take care of everything for you. My friend, even on mainstream media, they're not advertising their stuff for you. You have to get out there and let people know that you've got this show or you've got this thing going on. And they also think that people pay, the entity always pays for you. No, a lot of these people are pitching things that they have already shot and they've put skin in the game already. So there's a misconception of what it actually takes to produce a live stream, to produce a show, a daily or several times a week show, or even once a week. They have no clue. And it's interesting. It's not just, some creators who come to me on the platform, but just in general, people who want to do that. When I'm like, well, you got to do this, 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 and this. It doesn't bother me because I've been doing it from the beginning. But for people who have the mainstream media mindset in mind, it's a problem. So that's another hidden thing.
Yeah. And if you don't have a team, like I said, you're doing it yourself.
Yeah.
You're running your live stream yourself. You're pulling up your assets, and there's a lot of work involved. A lot.
It is. And for somebody who's not used to it, they don't want to do it. They always want somebody to produce it. Whereas I'm like, I had a producer at one point, but guess what? This is what I studied. I know how to do it myself. So if for some reason you can't have a producer, bam, you know how to do it yourself. But some people are just lost. Case in point, when the pandemic came and everybody went virtual, The View, Whoopi Goldberg came on and she still had her bonnet or do-rag on and nobody said anything. This is because you are so used to people doing things for you. The lights are set up for you. The camera is already set up. Your makeup is done. Your hair is done. Now when you have to do it yourself, you forget things. Nobody had a checklist. Nobody took class with me, clearly, but nobody had a checklist to make sure of all these things. So it's very different for people who are not used to doing it. But I think because we're all used to doing, it's hard, but we're used to doing it.
Yeah. And like you said, to your point, a lot of people who are new to it have this misconception that it's just so easy to do until they are hired to do the job. And they're like, wow, I had no idea how much work is involved. It's so much that you have to think about. Let us not forget, YouTube is our boss, and there are rules and there are guidelines. So you also have to think about all of those things in everything you're creating, especially if you are doing it yourself and you don't have a team or people that are, understand all of those things, or they are tasked to read those guidelines and make sure that you are, when you present, that you are following all of those things. So there's so many things in our mind, things you can't say, things you can't write, things you can't put on thumbnails. There's so much involved. And oftentimes, like I said, people who are just coming into it really don't realize until they're in it, oh wow, I can't do that. I can't say that. I can do that. Things get taken down, you may get a copyright strike. You may get your whole channel demonetized off of one thing. So there's a lot involved. And to your point, Jonathan, which we said we'll talk at the end, these are the kinds of things that I would do as far as sisterhood goes, to teach, to pay it forward of what I've learned on my journey of doing this. That's just a short answer.
Juice Man?
For the spaces that you try to get into, how do you handle the word no?
And trust me, I've heard no a lot, because there's been some spaces that, some of the mainstream spaces that I thought, oh, I wouldn't mind, even just being a co-host for a day in this particular space. And the answer is no. And rejection hurts. But at the end of the day, all that does is I say to myself, okay, no is the answer. I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing as an independent, journalist. And I will take all that energy and that time and everything focusing on building my own table. And I'm going to stop asking to be invited to other tables. I'll just build my own. Again, it may sound simple. It may, that's me. Some people take it differently. Some people may feel like it's discouraging to them, and then they lose their morale or their lack of desire to continue going. For me, I just use it as maybe it's a sign. I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. And the right people who continue to see what I'm doing and want me, they will come and find me. But in the meantime, I'll continue doing what I'm doing. And that's what I would say to anybody else who is going through a lot of rejection. Not easy, but it's part of life.
Well, thank you for saying my name. The no is what I had in the first place, right? So I already didn't have it to begin with. So obviously, if you want to go after something, it's just, I'm sure it can be frustrating for some, but this is the interesting thing. It doesn't frustrate me. That's actually what prompted me to double down and triple down on being independent. In 2018, I had actually pitched Mediascope to some entities because I was at a pitch summit. So it was like a speed pitch, basically. So you had a certain amount of time. So I pitched to an awful lot of people. But that's when I knew that mainstream media only knew how to do well what it already does. That's when it hit me even more that they are risk adverse. And that's not to say that Mediascope is the best thing since sliced bread, even though I think it is. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but it was a new concept. Nobody else was doing like digital stuff. As I was pitching, they didn't know what to do with it. They're like, oh, well, we really don't do digital, as if they couldn't do something with it. But try this or try these people because they do it. You would reach out to those people, Pim, nothing, because they really didn't understand digital and didn't know how live would work with comments and all of that, and didn't want to try, right? So those were no's, but I was like, oh, clearly you don't know what you're doing when it comes to this, but I do. So why am I begging you for an opportunity? Let me keep going with, as Emma says, the table that I've already built that has a wonderful tablescape on it and room for other people at the table.
Everybody can eat.
Every damn body can eat.
Yep.
I hear you. There's room for everybody. Like a great example, though he's non-melanated, when Ted Turner started CNN, there were other news networks on, NBC, CBS, and all that. Look at CNN today, worldwide leader in news coverage. He didn't say, oh, well, these other people doing things. Do you, as Dr. Thatcher say, do you.
And what I will also add to CNN is, as you know, some people have been let go from CNN, like
Yes.
Don Lemon, like
Mhm.
Chris Cuomo. And guess
Mhm.
what they did? They went and built their own.
Jim
And
Acosta.
they are
Jim
they are
Acosta.
very successful. Other people who like Candace Owens, whether or not you like her content,
I
she was
don't.
also let go. She has built her own. She has built her own. Joy Reid. I mean, I could go on and on. And guess what? They went and they built their own, and they're doing better than they were.
Absolutely. I agree. Here's the thing that I want us to come to, that it always takes the conduit of going to a major network before we can become successful on our own. Because let's be clear and let's be real. All of those people, though I love them, they would not have done this on their own. They would have been right there
Initially,
sitting
no.
on MS Now, on CNN, or wherever they were, just as happy as comfortable, uncomfortable. It was because they were forced into this life, and now they see, you know what, this life is better. I'm not beholden to you or you or you, but I want people to know that it's beautiful over here. The water's great over here. Start here. You don't have to beg them for. And guess what? Just because, granted, I know there is a lot of money to be made in corporate media in some senses, but you can still make that amount or more because you're in charge. There's no cap on what you do. And it's not going to, this is for everyone, even if you are mainstream media. The days of having one job and having that pay millions and stuff anymore, those are done. It's multiple streams of income at this point. So why can't you generate those multiple streams?
And that is why, to Jonathan's question earlier about being offered a multi-million, I'm coming in telling you what I want. You know, we're not going backwards, because as I said, you sought me out. So, you know, it goes both ways.
That's what you want.
Mm.
That's why you have the power. You
Yeah.
you hold the chips. Let me ask, both of you work or run independent platforms, or you work with or run independent platforms. How does owning or co-owning media space change what you can say and how you show up as Black women journalists?
Well, to my point earlier, depending on the platform, there's some things you can't say. So it's very important to make sure that you adhere to their guidelines, you know, their code of ethic. Sometimes it can be corporate-y as much as you don't want it to be. There are some levels because they are the boss. If it's my own, like building my own website and app, then the sky's the limit, which is that's the other table that I'm building, because I don't want to be told what I can and cannot say. And by the way, even though this is what I do on a regular basis, and this is my main passion, even on my channel, I'm going to be diverse about the news that I'm delivering. I'm even starting on Fridays. It's called the Friday Culture Pop-Off. Stay tuned for that.
Ooh.
Yes, where we're talking about things related to pop culture, like the
When am I on?
last Friday. Oh, you know, I'm coming. I'm coming for you.
The sisterhood.
Exactly. For example, last week we did one on if you bring your wife to a Chris Brown concert and Chris Brown brings your wife on stage, how are you throwing your wife's stuff out when you brought her there, and why is she on the stage? You know, just talking about what's the code of ethic? What is the protocol when you go to a concert?
It's already packed. Just pack it up right here. Just pack it up and take it up.
Oh, you're packing up makeup for her to go on stage? How nice.
No.
Jonathan,
I'm saying no. I said her stuff's already in here. Just take this and go.
Okay, so that's what this brother did. He took all her stuff and threw it outside. And he said, "Oh, you're talking about Take Me Down with Chris Brown? Here, take your stuff." So we had that conversation. So that's going to kind of be our Fridays, you know, just to mix it up, right? So Jonathan, I should have asked you to come. Dr. Vibe, I should ask you to come, but stay tuned. The next one is coming. But my point is that we are mixing it up too. We're not always going to, it's not always going to be drama and trauma, us versus them with an emotional hook. We want to have a diverse kind of topics. So just throwing that in as well. But it's just a point I was trying to make.
Mhm.
I got a question. You've been doing this for a minute, and there's good, bad, and indifferent things that you've done. What is something that you did in the early days when you were broadcasting that you look back at and say, man, if I only knew then what I know now, I would have done this a lot different? How has your evolution been as a Black woman journalist? Like, what's one of the things that you looked at now and say, I'm so much better doing this because I've been doing it for a minute?
I can talk about stepping in the dookie mess because we've all stepped in the dookie mess. I want to believe in this space, and so I will attribute it to mistakes. And when I say mistakes, I just mean as somebody who didn't have a journalist background but was very passionate and highly overzealous about getting news out. And I think, as I said, there are a lot of journalists that can probably relate to this, but I can think of two examples. One in particular that really, really stands out is I kind of misrepresented the PM of Jamaica. Okay. I can laugh about it now, but it was a serious matter. I received an audio clip, and one of the things that happens a lot is I get a lot of things. People are sending me things all day. Like I'm getting pinged all day with, I mean, you got to cover this. You got to cover this. Somebody sent me an audio clip and told me it was Andrew Holness that was speaking. My job is to fact check, right? I want to say 5 months in to the job. Okay. And Andrew Holness was saying some very negative things about the people of Jamaica because they were supporting Asian-owned businesses and South Asian-owned businesses that were coming onto the island. And he was referring to the Jamaican people of the island as stupid and all this other stuff because they were patronizing these instead of their own people. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I went and had our editor create a whole thing about it with the audio clip, graphics, you name it. Put it up there. 200, 300,000 views later. But over 1,000 comments saying that's not him. So then, of course, the boss had to go and look at what is this? And then we get a letter from Andrew Holness's camp. Saying that journalist you have on the channel, yeah, you're going to need to fix this because that was not Andrew Holness. So I say all that to say is there was a lot of cleanup that had to happen. And it was a very teachable moment for me. But that is one of the things I look back on and say, okay, that will never happen again. And therein lies the importance of making sure that you do the research, you do the homework, you make sure that, you're not just putting things out there and jumping on the first headline, right? So that's one really super, super teachable moment for me that if I were teaching a group of upcoming journalists, I would use that as an example of really stepping in the dookie mess and didn't have the right shoes. Okay. So that's one example that stands out. There are a few, but that's definitely one that was very impactful. And that I could even remember the year was 2023. So yeah.
So go ahead, Dr. Vibe. You were going to say
No. I said you can't get more open than that in journalism.
So for me, thank God it hasn't been anything as dire as Emma's, as annoying the prime minister. Is Jamaica prime minister or president?
Prime minister.
Prime minister, right. So
Andrew Holness.
Yes, Andrew Holness, who has relatives here in South Florida that are in government as well. So when I hear the name Holness, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. So it has not been anything dire. It's been more procedural of, damn it, why did we? So particularly when I had I was doing a podcast with my podcast partner, and we did our regular shows, and then we did specials. So stupidly, we're like, oh, the specials stand out on there. Oh, we're not going to give them a number. But then you end up off numbering your episodes because you've made this a special. We were like, we're a bunch of damn fools. Why did we do this? So from this point on, and then in the early days, I didn't number at all. I didn't even really put the weeks of week such and such or the dates. I'm like, it's just up. So I could always go back and look for the date. But here's the thing, platforms change. And when I started on Meerkat and Periscope. Meerkat went away. Periscope went away. They both had ways that you could import your stuff, but guess what? It's just a jumbled mess. And all that jumbled mess is still in a private channel on YouTube because I just imported it there. I don't know when it was or any of that. So one thing that I learned is to at least always put the date if I'm not going to do like an episode number, season this, episode such and such. But I have started doing that, especially since starting Indie Soup, and I want uniformity in the way people do things. I've required everybody, including myself, you do the name, you do season, name and number of the episode, and then name of the episode, so that it's all the same. Because I also know that I'm not always going to be the one doing it. I don't want to always be the one doing this. So there needs to be procedures so that the next person who comes up knows how to do that. So it's not a big gaffe, but it's a gaffe.
Yeah, I mean, perception and presentation. You wouldn't believe how many super sleuths are on watching what we're doing and have so much to say about it. So I am totally with you on procedure. You want to be consistent in every way.
Absolutely.
What have both of you learned about building audiences as a Black woman journalist, Black woman independent journalist? What have you learned? Lessons you learned in building your audiences?
That it's subjective. It's very subjective. I mean, there's an audience. I believe there's an audience for everything. There's an audience for tech. There's an audience for finance. There's an audience for pop culture. There's an audience for, drama and trauma. So what I've learned is you based on what you put out is who comes, right? So there people love to see drama and trauma. People love to be writers, B1, FBA. Dr. Tachi, you can relate to the FBA group of people. Yeah, that's a whole other story for a whole other day. But there's an audience for everything. So when you decide what you're doing, whatever it is you're doing, whatever your content is, part of it is you want to promote it. So if I've decided that my channel is going to be about news with purpose, then I got to promote it. But also if something changes along the way, you got to promote it. You got to say, hey, listen, on Fridays, I'm going to be doing this. I just mentioned my newest episodes or segments. So you want to continually promote yourself because again, you're independent. Nobody's doing it for you. So you want to continue to promote what you're doing. And that also requires time and effort. You got to put in the time to do that. And in this day and age, there's so many resources and tools and stuff that you can use to sort of up your game and your presentation and all that stuff. But that's one of the things I learned is there's an audience. Based on your audience, you got to figure out your SEO. You got to figure out your target places that you want to promote, all of those kinds of things. And you just got to do it. And I will also add, do not get into your head about the amount of views, about, the amount of people on. Just keep doing what you're doing. I started off with 11 subscribers. Okay. I now have 9,000. So it's one of those things you are passionate about it. You just keep going, do not give up. Don't listen to any naysayers. There are people that said to me, oh, Emma, I don't think you should do that. I think you should do this. Your insecurity, I'm not fostering. So I'm not listening to what you think or your Debbie Downer attitude of, no, that's not going to work for you. I know who I am. I know what I want. I know what I want to put out. I know what my offering is. So don't allow any naysayers to visit their insecurity on you, because that's their insecurity, not yours. That's the other thing I'll say. Then that's what I learned.
Well said. Wow. I think I've learned that it's definitely about audience building, and I know, Dr. Vibe, you're not a fan of this word, but it's more about community building. So you are building a community, not just an audience, because audience members come and go. Your community feels connected to you, and they will come back every time you're on. Listen, sometimes I did a live from the beach one time. I didn't tell anybody I was coming on. I'm just going to go on. People still came because they're part of my community. And it feels good that, hey, you want to come and hang out with me on the beach? I feel special. It feels really good. And I think they feel good about being a part of the community. They feel included. Another thing is by including, you say, hey, to, whoever's online, welcome them in. Like, for example, I see Chris online right now, and Jazzy, and a whole bunch of other people, Sharice Brewster. Hey, welcoming them in. That's another thing that I've learned works. I'm already the type of person that likes to welcome people to things. So it was just natural that I would continue to do that. We all do the same thing. You put the comments on the screen. You say hello to them. Yeah. I know where everybody lives for the most part. My audience, hey, it's such and such coming in from the Pacific Northwest. How are you? It is wonderful to see you, because they've been coming for so many years. So they feel like family. That's why I call them the Mediascope Massive.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what you said, that is part of the engagement piece that I was speaking about. And to your point, I do the same thing. First of all, I thank them, because you could be doing a whole host of things, but you took the time to come and spend that 30 minutes or 1 hour with me. That's the first thing. I'm thanking them. And I am also I will spend 15 minutes or so just going through there and also I'll say things like, let me know what you think, family. And I call them my family. Mm-hmm. And I end with love. I love y'all. I'm going to love you and leave you before I love you and leave you, et cetera, et cetera. I encourage them to be safe. Keep your head on swivel. I'm anti-M, and I even call myself anti-M. So like Annie M from The Wizard of Oz. That's what I say. So you definitely want to have that engagement, because they're coming to have those conversations with you. They're interested in what you have to say, but they also have a say. So that's the other thing I learned as well, is it's very important, especially if you're going live. They want to be a part of the conversation. Mm-hmm. So you want to have that. So I love that you do it too, Dr. Vibe. You bring it up on screen. Mm-hmm. The other thing I do too is anybody donates, I make sure and give them a huge shout out. I'll bring it on the screen and I'll be like, thank you, sir, for that $10 donation. I appreciate you, and I will engage with them. I'll be like, you know what, Frank, you're right. And you know what else, Frank? Those things go a long way. And guess what? They'll keep coming back, even if you're talking about a rock on the street.
But, yeah, if I have permission to interrupt, even more importantly, they're going to tell all their people about it.
They share it.
That's the thing.
Yes.
That's the thing. They will. I have Ray has a question. Have either of you ladies thought of what your platforms are valued and have a legacy plan for when you decide you no longer want to do what you do anymore? Interesting question.
What was the first part?
Have either of you ladies thought of what your platforms are valued?
What they're
have a legacy plan valued for when you decide when you no longer want to do it. So the valuation of your platform and also succession planning.
I have.
Okay.
Totally. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because the thing is that when you build things, you don't want it to stop with you. There are too many people that just have businesses in general that they either decide they don't want to do it or can't do it anymore, or God forbid they're gone. And it just fizzles. There was no plan. So I definitely have that in mind, and definitely have thought about valuation. I think it's important for anybody in media that has that, especially those of us that are independent, because we also have to make sure we're thinking about it like businesses. And this includes content creators. So I don't just mean like all of us here thinking about things, because we obviously know that what we have are also businesses, but there are lots of other content creators who are just creating content, but they don't view it like a business. And I'm like, you could sell your channel if you wanted to. That this has value. So I think those are things that we all need to think about. So the answer is yes.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think what I do, and I speak about how passionate I am, is a value add, in my opinion. So I already feel like it's a value add. As far as legacy, if I'm in the home with diapers on, I do want people to remember me or my legacy as somebody who was the voice for the voiceless, but also brought people along. So at some point, I want to be able to take a vacation and have somebody like Dr. Tachi, whether you want to do it or not, step in for a week and be able to be on Emma Anson News with Purpose with Dr. Tachi. Or, Dr. Vibe steps in, or Jonathan Shaw steps in, and we just keep it going. So if I'm in the diapers in the home, somebody else can step in and take over and make it their own, and also say, oh, I remember you for X. I remember you for doing that, like Harriet Tubman, like, Malcolm X, like Martin Luther King. They all left something behind that other people are picking up the mantle and moving forward. So that's kind of what I would like. And that's what I think about as I continue to build.
May I just say something really
ahead.
quickly? Emma, I rebuke in the name of Jesus you in diapers in the home. I'm just going to say that now. I rebuke that.
I have a family that would take care of me, okay?
Get thee behind me, say, nope, not for you. Nope.
Let me see if I can bring up a comment to break that one up. Someone saying, I would hope the emphasis wouldn't be the money, but the message and the influence and change in the world. And that as long as one could speak, the work would continue, loyal listeners would stay. And Cal Design says it's all community building. Yes.
And just to add to that as well is one of the other things that I learned, and shout out to Philip Scott, African Diaspora News. I mean, I've learned so much from this man. He's been in the game for 14 years. He is beyond. It's super important to bring a personal element to the work you do, because that's also how people connect, right? Super important to do that. And then the other piece is independent media. For me personally, we're not CTV. We're not buttoned up. So when you're having these conversations and you're talking about, it could be because, my news is mostly hard hitting. That's what it is. But you could still do hard hitting news and still have it relatable. So it's super important to just, like, you're talking to your friends, right? And that's part of the audience engagement. So I just want to add that as part of the community building. I hope you'll come on board with that word now, Dr. Vibe.
Well, I only use it when someone comes to me, the Black community, and I say, okay, where is it? I don't mind the word community, but when it's used in the Black community, I say, okay, where is it? Just speaking in a greater Toronto area, where is the Black community? I don't have anything against the word community, but you gotta show me, you gotta give me the receipts behind it.
The problem is it's used as a monolithic term in terms of the Black community. It's the same thing when people say the media. No, it's media.
Yeah, because people operate in silos. So it's not always, it's not calm unity. All
right. Juice Man, you've been quiet for a while, Bull. Dr. Tachi made you roll off your chair for a second, as usual. Anything else you want to add? Because I know both these independent content creators got things to do. I think we should come back to your question from earlier on about the sisterhood.
the one thing I would have, this last question is, in doing what you do, sometimes I was watching something from a documentary on Don Cornelius, and he was afraid to touch certain subjects and certain things because he figured it's going to move his audience this way or that way. Has there been that moment where you looked yourself in the mirror and said, I need to get out of my own way?
Not with what I do. I think, I'm fairly passionate about what I do. So I will say this, and it goes back in history. And you probably may roll off your chair when I say this, but I suffered from a severe case of a fear of public speaking. Like anything that involved all eyes on me, you couldn't pay me to do. So,
You too.
oh, you too, right? Yes, you couldn't pay me to do. I don't know when it ended and when it began that I developed this courage to do it, but I feel like it came from God because he said, we need you to do this. So we're going to go ahead and lick that fear out of you. And so that allowed me to not get in my way. I got out of my way. I got out of, like, that fear left me. Right. And it started with me pulling up to these Black businesses and just, I got my little tripod and my camera and my little mic and just did it. Right. But as far as now going forward, I'm fearless when it comes to this work, because again, there are a lot of people that reach out to me and they want to tell their story, but they're afraid and they want me to do it for them. But there are certain things I need, and there's certain things that they need to be willing to open up to. And then on top of that, me knowing the audience and me knowing what can happen impactfully with them sharing their stories, because trust me, some of these stories can really blow the roof off of organizations and what have you. Really powerful structures. And so I have to be honest and tell them, here's what can happen. These are 3 categories that you'll fall into. You'll have people that will be supporting you. You'll have people that'll come for you. And then you'll have the organization that have lawyered up and they will come for you. So you got to be prepared for all of this. So in that regard, sometimes I can't do it because I need authorization. But me personally, nothing gets in my way anymore. It's just those obstacles that can prevent me from doing what I really want to do.
Dr. Tachi?
So I don't think there are a lot of things that have gotten or do get in my way. It's definitely not being like in front of the camera or whatever, because I'm like, where's the mic all the time? However, funny thing, initially that was not what I wanted to do. I was cool behind the scenes. That it wasn't until I took my headshots and the photographer was like, you should consider being on camera. That's all you had to say. So you don't have to convince me, too much of that. I think where I start to get in my own way is with sales. I need to be a better salesperson. Sales is a tough thing for lots of people. That's not necessarily what I want to do, but that's what needs to happen for things to continue. So that's what I'll say. When it comes to sales, I do need to tighten up and get better. But other than that, nothing so much.
All right. I got some few quick last conversation pieces. So first of all, for both of you, what do newsroom leaders, editors, and executives need to hear clearly about the experiences of Black women journalists?
Well, they need to hear about all of the negative side of things and take it seriously. Oftentimes I feel like you see these statistics, you see these analytics, and you see it, and it's all in theory. Then when something happens, then we decide, oh, I think we got to put these things in place. So it's work on it before it becomes a thing. So I do think that's one thing that has to be taken seriously. You got to make sure your staff is protected. And I'm not assuming that that's not happening. I don't know, because I'm not in those spaces. But I want to believe that when you have field journalists out here that are covering things in dangerous, territories, countries, situations, that you have those safety measures in place, right? So I think you just want to make sure that your team is protected. You don't want them out there and then something happens to them and you just replace them with another journalist the next day. So it's like you want to make sure that people are safe. You've hired them to do a job. And in our case, we're independent. So we have to be responsible for taking those measures for ourselves, right? Because again, oftentimes as Black people, BLM is there for a reason. And there's been many, many situations where our alarm bells that we're ringing, our bells that we're whistling is not taken seriously. So we need to make sure that that happens.
Dr. Tachi.
Lean into the unique storytelling talents that we have. We come from a tradition of storytelling culturally. And so there's a unique way that we do things because of that background. I understand there is a quote way that journalism is supposed to be done traditionally. But guess what? That's all been disrupted because of social media and the new media outlets we have now for that. And I think that Black women, those of melanation, are uniquely positioned to tell stories in ways that will draw audiences in, because that's what we've always done. We are storytellers. So I'd say lean into the storytelling aspect of what we do more.
Okay. What can everyday viewers do to support Black women journalists beyond liking and sharing their content?
Like, subscribe, watch, comment, share, all of those things. Just, take it in. Come and join us. Hang out with us for an hour. Set aside time to just watch what we're doing. We're bringing good content because it's important. It's important to our community. It's important to pretty much everybody. It's relatable. Just support. Support.
Dr.
All
Tachi?
of that. All of that. And if you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, put us on to that. Too often we're silent about the people we know, or we don't think about it. But if you know, this is another thing about either sisterhood and being a connector. If you know someone that would be a good match for you in terms of working with them, in my case, also shooting video, that type of thing, put them on.
Yeah, totally.
If a young Black woman comes to you saying, I want to be a journalist, what path would you advise in 2026? Mainstream newsroom, independent outlet, or building her own platform?
For me, it would be a mix between independent and build your own. I would not encourage them to go to mainstream unless they want to. And if they want to, I may not be able to help in that area because I'm not in mainstream. So I can certainly, provide some resources. As a matter of fact, people have reached out to me on LinkedIn and things like that, asking for if I know of any because they just got out of school. So my answer is always the same. You might want to consider building your own. And if you need help with that, I'm more than happy to help you with that. But here are some resources for you if you're interested in the mainstream space. And that's everybody's right to choose where they want to be.
Dr. Tachi?
Cut your teeth at the independents, and then you can work on building your own. I think we also have to remember, not everybody is wanting to build their own. Not everybody can build their own. There are some people that we need people to work as well. So obviously, I think you can build like one part of your own, like having a YouTube channel, etc. I think that's great in addition to doing things. But not everyone is meant to own a business. I don't think media ownership is for everyone because there's a lot to think about. But I would still say start at Independence, cut your teeth at Independence, and then if you desire to have your own, yes, but there's no push or force for you to have to do your own. But I would say I always encourage students to, like, do you have a YouTube channel at least? Build a YouTube.
Yeah.
You need to at least have that. And Dr. Vibe, you and I have worked with tons of interns at this point. So we always tell them the same thing. Dr. Vibe and I will always have a conversation with them after the internship ends, and we find out, all right, so what are you wanting to do? And then we're always giving things. I'm like, listen, these are the conferences you need to go to. These are the people you need to. So it's that education piece as well of that's what they need to do. So that's what my answer is.
Yeah, just to
totally.
build on what both of you are saying, when young people come to me saying, I want to do this, I want to do this, say, can I see your stuff? If they don't have any stuff, I'm saying, well, that's where you got to start. You got to have stuff at least out there that people can look at. If you don't have it out there, I'm going, you're starting behind the eight ball. Not to say you can't get it done, but people are gonna, if when they meet you, they're gonna say, where's your stuff? And over the years, especially with students, more of them come to me with their portfolios online you can look at. Those to me are the ones who are the serious than the ones who are just playing around. Juice Man, it sounds like you may have something to add to this.
No, I'm listening. No, I'm good.
I do want to add really quickly to this. I don't know if you all know, just like I don't know all the Canadian newscasters, you probably don't know all the American ones, but on ABC News, there is a reporter. His name is Gio Benitez. I don't know if you've ever seen him.
I have.
So Gio, when I was doing my faculty internship at CBS 4 My 33, Gio was in college at FIU. I think he went to FIU, Florida International University, and he started off as an intern. He was so good because he learned to do everything himself. He was like a one-person show. They made him a producer, still in college now, in undergrad, for the morning news program. Gio is now on ABC News.
Wow. Okay. So last conversation piece. Imagine the media landscape 10 years from now. What would success look like for Black women in journalism?
Well, for me, it's your own. Having your own. That to me is the pinnacle. It's yours. Like I always say, even in this space, right? When I sit down and start my live, I'm saying to myself, I'm the boss. Yes, I have my audience and I'm happy to have people coming on, but I am the boss of this particular space right now, what I'm doing. So having your own and knowing that you literally are the boss of that that's where we want to be. And like I said, New Black Media is what everybody more and more is coming to watch now, right? And we have places like TikTok, and we got creators that are just solely on Instagram or solely on TikTok, and they have a massive audience that comes to hear what they have to say on those platforms. So having your own is a thing that I feel like will be a bigger and broader space that we're going to start to see 10 years from now. It's already started now. So 10 years from now, I can only imagine where it's going to be. And trust me, it's ruffling feathers. It's flipping tables.
I think you're muted, Dr. Vibe.
Dr. Tachi.
Oh, okay. So 100% to what Emma says, it looks like having our own, but not having our own in silos, having our own in networks where we're all benefiting from that. That's the beauty of having a network, right? I think it also looks like becoming the training grounds for the next generation of media makers. The future of Black women media and Black women journalists is not just about you. It can't be, or it doesn't survive. So I think it is also about becoming that training ground for the next generation.
Agree.
Mm.
And just to piggyback on that, I really do want to shout out some people who, on the heels of sisterhood and what Dr. Tachi just said is to those people who I reached out to when I just had 11 subscribers and a dream. And the answer was yes, without even knowing, without going to see how many people, how many this, how many that. They all said yes, including you, Dr. Tachi, including you, Dr. Vibe, Jonathan Yu, more recently, Salam Debs, Lisa Vitello. When I asked her to come on, she's like, you know what? Sure. Not a question. Okay. And now we've started our own, Rooted in Blackness. Stay tuned for that, including you, Dr. Tachi. I'll be reaching out to you. No questions asked. Also just believing in the dream, believing in the passion. And I just wanted to make sure to shout those people out. Theo Wilson, shout out to him as well, who was just always willing to collaborate with me. He's out in Colorado and he always takes the time to come hang out with me. So my girl Lee Seaton, I just have to shout these people out who believed in what I was doing and is willing to come along for the ride, not taking a penny. It means everything. And I promise you, it doesn't go unnoticed because I am Petty Betty and I take inventory. Okay? God's still working on me with the
Petty
Betty.
I do too. I do too. Let people not support, and it's probably not good, but at this point I don't care. If we don't support each other, who do we have? So, and it can't be, and nobody can ever accuse me of not supporting. I watch and go to everybody's stuff and comment because I am a cheerleader for all, and I want people to win. But the moment I realize you're not cheering for me, Pim, I back into the bushes like Homer Simpson, and you will never see me again.
That's it. I'm telling you.
Juice, I wish I had a screenshot for Jonathan's facial reaction.
Those who left me on red, all of that. I am petty, God knows, and God is trying to work on me with that. I'm sorry, but
thank you.
And to those people who reached back out to me since I went from 11 to 9,000, I've done exactly, and you know who you are. I've done exactly what you did. That's it. So I thank those people, including the three on here. And I wanted to make sure to shout that out.
Absolutely.
Someone's saying here, cooperation, unification, unity, improved culture, safety through tribalism, etc.
Yes.
Juice Man, any final words?
No, just keep doing what you do, Shiro's. Like you don't understand from my chair. Seeing Black women do what they do is just so infectious. It's just it's like, and I'll say this for my career, when I saw like a Tracy Moore do her thing, and I mean she'd be on CP24 with the braids, and doing her thing on CP24, and Marcia, just watching them both on TV, and Natasha. And I remember Natasha was like, man, I can't take these people. I want to quit. I'm like, no, I got 2 daughters, man. You can't be doing that. No, you. No, don't do that. I need, I got two little girls who, at the time, like pretending that they're doing the Weather Network. You know what I mean? Like, no, you can't, this is what they grew up watching. You're as important. Like, Black women don't understand. You're as important as Sesame Street, the Electric Company, Mr. Rogers, Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, to the fiber of what we see. You know what I mean? Like, forget what you want to say about football. If Jane Kennedy was not on TV, I would not be a football fan right now. I'm going to tell you straight. You know what I mean? When she did those interviews, I was there for it. You know what I mean? Forget, I don't know, like, not hardcore self, Jane Kennedy watching TV, and she had OJ Simpson on TV with her. And I'm like, I was watching for her because she was not only a good-looking woman, but she knew her facts. And one of the things that I loved about Black women journalism is they're not just beautiful faces. They know their information cold. And if you close your eyes and just hear them speak, it is the most infectious thing ever. It's like you're
Another
talking
person.
your
Another
auntie.
person who should get a shout out. Robin Roberts.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Definitely.
But
she doesn't get the due that she deserves. 'Cause she is her and the Jane
Right.
Kennedys of the world. They were the foundations.
She's fired.
and
She's fired.
that's the
Robin
legacy.
Roberts. Pardon
That's
me?
the legacy. That's the
Yeah.
legacy that we want to carry forward. You're talking about people that inspired you and that has inspired your children. That's exactly what we want. That's it.
Absolutely.
That
May I-
is the biggest compliment. It's the best thing that can happen.
I agree. May I do a shameless plug? Jonathan, since you love Jane Kennedy, go to my channel and watch the interview we did with Jane Kennedy.
Man's eyes bulge. Man, I pop with him head.
It
All right.
was amazing.
Kale Design 20 says to Dr. Dasher, you are a true supporter. Also says, love this conversation this morning.
Thank you.
Frequency Event
Chris.
Promotion says not having support from people you support is very concerning.
Yes.
It's part of the journey. And it's also a test. It's a test on how bad you want to do it.
And it's
Yep.
a test of how quickly I can unfollow them.
Okay.
Freeman says, when you support folks, never keep the score, but when you process and see how you build folks up and don't get the support in return, sometimes it raises an eyebrow. Doesn't raise an eyebrow with me, just saying, but the funny thing is, when many times those people will call back and I will say to them, so what's your reason for calling me?
Oh,
Just asking.
the fact that you even give them that airtime.
Exactly. Because I'm not
You
answering.
are left on red. I'm telling you
Well, I
right
know
now.
sometimes I like to hear.
I feel
Not to
you.
say I'm going to go any further, but I
feel
just
you.
like to hear.
Absolutely.
And then
I
also,
feel you.
it's 100% okay to support one another. Absolutely. You see what Juice Man's doing? He's trying to find the interview.
You know what I
Tell
do?
where
I
you
should
can find it.
probably
Tell
send
where you
it to
can
you.
find it, Dr. Todd, because you know you ain't going to be happy now.
I ain't even paying attention to you right now. I'm just sorry.
Okay, I will find it and put it in the chat for you.
Thank you.
Well, I want to say thank you so much to both of you for
It's
taking
been
the
great.
time to hang
Thank
out with
you.
us. It was I was really excited for this conversation. I said this is gonna be an as we say epic conversation, and say thanks. Any final words from either one of you before we shut it down?
No, well, again, like I said, thank you. You Dr. Vibe, you Dr. Tachi, Jonathan, everybody in the media space doing their thing and crushing it. Thank you. And I appreciate everybody, like I said, who has come on my channel, who's coming up on my channel, Patrick Morris, Jason Henry. I am going to,
Patrick Morris. Oh,
yes,
man.
iLive Radio. We're going to talk about Black men in, by the way, Jonathan, I'll be reaching out to you too. But yes, talking about Black radio, basically, in Canada, and kind of like the challenges, the triumphs, why is it that we don't have our own? Like what are we missing?
Okay, you may just a little plug there. You may want to rope me in because I was one of the people that was in the original radio application for a Black station back in the day.
Less.
Oh,
Say
wow.
less.
Yes, with Juice Man remembers those days.
Say less. We'll be reaching
the funny
out.
thing is, I don't know if this gentleman is still alive, but if he is, if Daniel Carteron is still alive, that would be the person you really want to speak with. Juice Man, you're going to say something.
As I copy this thing in for YouTube,
He is like
on the interview. you will see if you type in CRTC, can't repress the cause, you will see
Yes.
video for 0.6 seconds of a 22-year-old 180-pound me. So yeah, you'll see that.
Okay.
There you go.
Wow.
But
You'll
yeah,
see me in
I think it's an important conversation to have. So I just want to, again, I'm just saying thank you to all of those who didn't ask a question. How many views? What do you pay? Nothing. They're just willing to have these conversations because they're important conversations. They are now dads and grandparents. So we're
Yep.
now thinking about the babies coming up behind us. And again, legacy. What are we leaving behind? What's their world going to be when we're no longer above ground? And I'm not going to say in diapers again. Okay, Dr. Tati.
I rebuke.
I'm going to leave that alone. But
Ray
you know,
says,
these are
I
important
second
conversations.
I second that statement 100%. Juice Man, female journalists bring a level of authenticity and compassion to journalism that I really appreciate and enjoy. And Jazzy says,
Thank you.
listening and working, but this conversation was full of knowledge and wisdom.
Thank you, Jazzy.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank
All right.
you.
So if you want to get a hold of Dr. Tachi, that's her link. And it's also in the comments section on most of the platforms that you watch. Well, my platforms. I don't know. I don't think it shares it on Dr. Tachi's. Emma, there's millions of links, but I kept it simple. Website, email address. That's
Yes.
her home. All right.
Better.
EmmaAnswerGroup.com, email eanewswithpurpose@gmail.com. Juice Man, Jonathan Oshaw, and that's JONATHAN, people, Oshaw.com. You can also catch him on Sundays on Flow 98.7 on the Talk About. And then Ryan, you can catch him here, Ryan O'Neill Knight. That's Knight with a KN, not an N. Myself, taplink.cc/the DRVIBESHOW.com. And you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and the Afro Caribbean Business Network, and Ryan O'Neill Knight on YouTube. We got through it, family. We got
Yes.
through it.
One more shout out, Simone Jennifer Smith. Here to help.
Miss
Shout
Simone
out to her
Jennifer
as well.
Smith.
She's another one of my sisters.
Well, there you go. So as always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both. And it's always make it better. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith. Walk good. I think we'll do a part 2 of this in the near future. Take care.
We must. Bye.